Yo, what's up, you gamers? This is the top 10 games that have the top 10 enemies in them. This first, starting off, is Ark the Lad End of Darkness. And it's got a bunch of enemies. But I think this isn't just like bosses, this is like enemies in general. But this guy might be a boss. He's got like a big eye, like right in the middle of him. And then he also has two normal, well, two eyes on his head. But then the big. There's another game that kind of remind me of like Shadow Colossus, but it's called Budgeon Game, and it's got cool like big giant. Once again, I don't know if they're like bosses technically. It looked like a game like probably Dark Souls tried to rip off of. This is Sega CD 3200X, and when you're fighting against, these are the enemies that you fight against in that game. They're in the bathroom. They're in the hall too, and you have to capture as many as possible. And this isn't always. It's not always possible. Sometimes you only capture 5 out of a possible 12, and it's a tough game. Those enemies are creepy and they move around the house. This game is called Jimmy Neutron. Jimmy Neutron's just a regular average boy genius, but sometimes he gets into twonky trouble. These twonkies are some of the top 10 enemies in all of video games. They're some of the most iconic video gaming enemies in all of video games. The Twonkies were a huge hit, as we do all remember. What is that? Super Cheats. Don't go to supercheats.com. If someone tells you to go to supercheats.com, get on your jetpack and fly away. I don't know what that is. Don't cheat when you're playing your video games. Cheating is for losers, and you need to beat your video games fair and square. This game is called Phoenix, and look at these guys. I don't know what they are. They're like some sort of bird, purple bird, but they got like ears. They're like purple bird alien ears or something. I don't know. Look at those funky little guys. They're pretty cool. This is from another game. Oh yeah, I don't know what this game is called in Japanese at all, but it kind of looked like this game. Who knows if those guys are enemies or not? I just wanted you to see those guys because those are cool looking guys. They could be enemies. If they're not, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. This is the game called The Third Battles of World Runner. And check out these floating guys. They're like octopus, jellyfish, floating like jellyfish things from space. This next game, there are many species of creatures in Skyrim. There's bears, polar bears, which you do have to watch out for. There's ice things. There's little goblin men. There's trees. There's dark elves, different kinds of elves. And then, of course, there's these guys. And then, of course, there's also dragons, of course. These next top 10 enemies are from a top 10 game series called Mega Man. These Mega Man enemies, Mega Man always has some of the best, most cool-looking, creative-looking enemies. Sometimes the enemies are the stage, sometimes the enemies are frogs. Sometimes the enemies are fish, so sometimes they fit the theming of the level, like this gorilla man swinging on bamboos, and then sometimes they're just robots. But whatever they are, from Mega Man 1 all the way up through Mega Man 6 probably is what we're doing. Mega Man, just NES Mega Man has the best enemies. That snail robot one is probably my favorite, and the best. Finally, number 1 is Alien Syndrome. No, not for the Sega Genesis. We're talking about Alien Syndrome for the ZX Spectrum. Once the bomb is set, you have to rescue 10 comrades. These are the enemies you have to fight against. They're like worm-looking things. Don't get a game over, though, because there's a lot of these worm-looking things who are the number 1 enemy in all of video games. Thank you for joining me.